Part 24. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao Bai Shen Wu. Chapter 240. The Second World War in this world is subtly similar to that in the previous life, but also different. Because there was no Qing dynasty, the Ming dynasty continued until modern times. Until the outbreak of the War of Aggression, China saw the power of science and technology, which had a great impact on the Chinese people. In addition, the Ming dynasty was on its last legs, the imperial power declined, and there were rebellions in various places, so some ministers made great reforms. During the First World War, China had been learning, adjusting internal strife and resisting aggression, and even signed a treaty that was humiliating and humiliating. Later, with the help of the Soviet Union, the national system was completely changed. It was not until the Second World War that China began its true path to dominance. At that time, the people of China were sad because of the war, but because China had not seen a war for too long and had a large population, countless patriots emerged under the trend of war. What really made China rise was the emergence of aircraft carriers. During the war, it was still an era of big guns and big ships. Some foresighted war people in China knew that they could not follow the pace of the world, so they developed aircraft carriers. The aircraft carrier appeared in the previous life in 1917, and the aircraft carrier appeared in this life in 1939, when World War II broke out. Then when World War II broke out, China, which had always been regarded as a colony, used aircraft carriers to completely make the big guns and big ships completely fall. Then China completely got rid of its image as a world power and participated in World War II. What really made China the world's #1 country was the production of atomic bombs and the complete elimination of island countries, shocking the world. It was not until other major powers developed atomic bombs that major countries in the world came out of the shadow of China. Susiener knew that if Yayuking wanted to make a ship girl game, then many main ships in this ship girl game would be different from those in the previous life. Of course, the ships in the previous life also exist in this world, but in terms of aircraft carriers, the Chinese aircraft carriers in this world are the best in the world. And Zhug, the destroyer, also has it. But this is where Susiener is speechless, because the Zhug destroyer only exists in the design drawings. Legend has it that the strongest destroyer during World War II was the Utopia-class destroyer. Compared with the Shimekaze-class and Tashkent-class destroyers, the Utopia-class destroyers are slightly better than the other two classes/types because of their balanced performance and no shortcomings, and are called the strongest destroyer. And China has always been imitating others in terms of destroyers. It was not until the end of World War II that the Zhug, which was secretly developed by the Chinese government, was launched. However, the Zhug did not participate in World War II, because after China dropped the atomic bomb, World War II subsided, and major countries did not dare to mess around, for fear that China would throw it at their countries like crazy. Therefore, in many military otakus, there has been a discussion about whether the Zhug is there, whether it has really been launched, and whether it is as strong as China said. At that time, China even called the Zhug the world's #1 destroyer. In modern times, the Zhug has almost been discussed as a myth by these people, and the Zhug destroyer has almost become a stock in military forums. As long as someone talks about which aircraft carriers, battleships, and heavy cruisers were strong in World War II on the forum, my great Zhug will sink all these rubbish aircraft carriers, battleships, battle cruisers, and heavy cruisers with a torpedo. The Zhug is really lonely like snow. Zhug, damn, as soon as Dad came out, the overwhelming aura shocked all the major countries in the world. I heard that the Zhug is actually a space destroyer. Zhug, in fact, the atomic bomb is my torpedo. These jokes and rumors are almost played out by the military geeks in this world. Susiener was speechless when she learned about this. I didn't expect that there really was a Zhug, and her aunt actually paid attention to Zhug. Susiener had to admire the desire to turn the Zhug destroyer girl into Zhug's appearance. Now Sujug's popularity is not covered, and her popularity is about to surpass hers. The number of fans on Weibo has reached nearly 70 million. Of course, this is due to the fact that Sujug posts on Weibo 24 hours a day, such as "I'm hungry again, I want to eat fried dumplings, I have to eat steamed buns and fried dough sticks in the morning, I really want to sing today. Does anyone have a song? Take a nap." Chatting every day, and although fans know that it is posted by the staff of B Station, they completely take it into account that this is Sujug posting on Weibo, so the number of fans has increased rapidly. In addition, the trainers are very powerful. Since B Station released the Hatsune Miku software for free, many trainers use the software to make songs and release them on B Station every day. It can be said that Sujug's reputation has been completely played out during this period. Fans all hope that B Station can hold a concert for Sujug, because Sujug's first concert is imperfect in their opinion. After all, it was Saori Asada's concert. And if Sujug becomes a girly version of Jug and becomes a destroyer in the game, will this game be popular? It will definitely be popular. Susiener can be very sure. The game Kankali was very popular in the previous life. As a collection game, Susiener naturally knows how popular it is. Not to mention this world, because of the style of painting, it was all Q version mobile games before. If the character illustrations are released now, Susiener is not sure whether it can be as popular as the previous life King of Glory. After all, this is a home game, while King of Glory and Onmyoji are popular games, which cannot be compared. But as long as Yayuking does a good job in publicity, it would be unreasonable for the first Ship Girl game not to be popular. How about it? If you don't agree, please give me a pleasant word. How many shares can I get? Huh, Yayuking looked happy when he heard it, knowing that there was something going on, and then said bluntly, 30%, this is the highest. Yu Cheng. Why did you tell the bottom line? Just as Yayuking finished speaking, Susiener heard a girl's shy voice from the other end of the phone. Nonsense. The little fairy is my niece. I must go to her. And you all know the identity of my niece. If Sujug can negotiate, our game will definitely become popular before it happens, let alone her. If there is a live broadcast, there will definitely be a lot of people watching it. Oh, you're so mad at me. Susiener couldn't help laughing when she heard Yayuking's matter-of-fact voice and the girl's shy and annoyed voice. She was indeed her aunt, and she was still facing her at the critical moment. 30%, okay. But I don't have to invest any money, right? No need, you just need to live stream the vertical painting, and then let Jugehao be personified and then Sujug. You must help us negotiate this. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. By the way, what's the name of your Ship Girl game? Susiener patted her flat chest and promised that since the incident with Asada Saori last time, although Sujug was in control from B, she was the real person in control, because Sujug was painted by her, and she was the one who drew it. She looks two-dimensional. If she had a sudden brain attack and did not allow Sujug to appear in public anymore, she could completely ban Sujug, and Station B would have nothing to do. As Elaine. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 241. What? As Elaine? When Susiener heard these 4 words, she almost lost her temper. This game, she had heard of it but never played it in her previous life because it was still in closed beta at that time. But she knew that this was a real-time naval battle game, a 2DQ version of a Ship Girl game that incorporated barrage shooting. If she is not interested in Ship C and R, she is a little interested in Azalane, because this Azalane is controllable, and she can control the Ship Girls to fight, unlike Ship C and R, which can only watch. Extremely boring. I just didn't expect that Yayuking and his team would actually do Azalane. I didn't play it in my previous life, but I didn't expect that I could play it in this world. Susiener couldn't help but sigh. Then since you agreed, let's talk about the vertical painting, Ye Yuking said with a smile. That's it, our game is different from other games, it is a PC-like game, so the vertical painting requires 3D three-dimensional. A terminal-like game? What the hell? Susiener asked in confusion, isn't your game a mobile game? Mobile games, Ye Yuking was stunned, did I just say that? As he said that, Ye Yuking thought hard and scratched his head, I don't think I said this game was a mobile game. Susiener was confused, with a black question mark on her face. Isn't it a mobile game? Sigma, degree. If it's not a mobile game, what kind of game is it? What is a terminal game? What is a PC-like game? Susiener was a little stunned at this moment, and her mind could not wrap her head around it. Jian Niang game is a PC game. It's just like a client game. Ye Yuking saw that Susiener didn't understand, it's just like downloading the client and playing the game on the computer. Susiener's head turned dark, I'm not mentally retarded, of course I know this, isn't your game a collection game? Why is it a PC game? Wouldn't it be better to make it a mobile game? Ye Yuking was surprised, how do you know? Last year, Azalane was indeed going to be made into a mobile game. After all, the market was full of Q version games. But now that I have the idea of making a PC game, it's still because of you. That's right. Didn't you change the style of painting? So they don't want to stick to mobile games, they want to make them like PC games, Ye Yuking whispered, let me tell you, this R/U0026D team is very ambitious. Big. They want this game to be a masterpiece, so there are a lot of changes in various modes. Susiener was silent, in fact, when Ye Yuking told her that Azalane was not a mobile game, she felt that this research and development team was very ambitious. In the previous life, Ship C was a web game, Ship R was a mobile game, and Ship B, Azalane, was also a mobile game. As a result, the world's first Chip Girl game turned out to be a PC game. It's awesome. What a genius. Susiener's eyes flashed with excitement, how to play this game. Susiener knew that her previous doubts were due to her fixed thinking that limited her. In her mind, the kanji game must be a web game or a mobile game. But why can't it be a client game? Why not? As for the gameplay, she believed that since Ye Yuking and the others could make it, the gameplay would also be good, or she was looking forward to what this game would be like. In her eyes, games only need to be fun, what else? What does it have to do with her? Seeing Susiener's interest, Ye Yuking couldn't help but talk endlessly. It was obvious that she was also very interested in this game. This game, first of all, the painting style is 2.5D style. I will simply say about the gameplay. Now, it's divided into single-player dungeons. Single-player dungeons are where you can level up and fish for boats, and team dungeons are where players form a team and fight in the deep sea. In this deep sea, no need to mention the deep sea, what about the others? Susiener's eyes lit up and her interest greatly increased. In terms of power, we are divided into Azalane, red axis, good and evil chaos and dark deep sea. Judging from the names, you know which side is justice and which side is evil. As for the good and evil chaos, it is us China. But the expansion pack of the game starts from World War I, so the first expansion pack does not have the camp of good, evil and chaos. Looking at the history of this world, it is obvious that there are many changes, especially during World War II. During World War II, the two no-ones in China were obviously two extremes. After pacifying the island nation at that time, the former number one obviously became arrogant. He believed that with nuclear weapons, he could dominate the world and that reappearing as a great country was not a dream. But human lifespan is limited. At that time, the end of the former number one was approaching, and he fell ill and passed away after World War II was brought to an end. The person who took over the number 1 position is obviously different from his predecessor. He feels that the war has destroyed too many homes, so he hopes that the world war can calm down. He has no intention of fighting for world hegemony. Of course, he still needs the benefits he deserves. Therefore, China is now the world's largest country. This is also the reason why Yayuking put Huaxia alone in the camp of good and evil and chaos. It was because the two no ones had completely different personalities at that time, which made the world go in different directions. The camp of good and evil and chaos should only appear at the beginning of the World War II expansion pack. That was China's most glorious time. Actually, the expansion packs for World War I and World War II are basically the affairs of the three major camps. Of course, there will be some plots of the dark deep sea interspersed with them. Then after the end of World War II, there will be expansion packs for countries around the world and the dark deep sea. Hearing this, Susiener asked curiously, "What is your battle mode like?" "Barrage shooting mode," Yayuking replied. "In terms of difficulty, we divide it into normal difficulty and dynamic difficulty. In normal difficulty, the player is in the god's perspective, and in dynamic difficulty, the player is in the first perspective, that is, the ship's perspective. From a girl's perspective, different difficulty levels have different rewards, as well as different achievements and rewards." Susiener blinked. She could already imagine that the dynamic difficulty level should be that of an Oriental barrage game, and of course it was definitely not that perverted. But the game hasn't come out yet, so she doesn't know what the dynamic difficulty will be like, but from the first perspective, that is to say, from a human perspective, you can only see the front and a little bit on the left and right. So if the enemy fleet attacks from behind, doesn't it have to rely on consciousness? Hearing Susiener's question, Yayuking chuckled and said, "This is simple. First, there is a radar that can detect. Second, have you forgotten the sound? Just put on the earphones. If the enemy battleship shells, the sound will come from far to near. As long as the player is aware of the position, can't he dodge? Of course, if you dodge in advance, there will be no damage. If you do it slowly, you will lose a small amount of blood even if you barely dodge." Hearing this, Susiener knew that this dynamic mode should be completed by those technical emperors. As for whether this game can be popular, Susiener doesn't know anymore. If it was like that in her previous life, she would be guaranteed to be popular. But now, Domo has been changed like this. Who knows if it will be popular? In addition, I only heard from my aunt and haven't played it, so it's hard to make a conclusion. But, I really want to play. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 242. Chapter 235, Absorb the Essence and Create a Different Azalane. When will your game be launched? Susiener was very curious. After all, she suddenly became interested in this game and naturally hoped that the game would be launched as soon as possible. Well, if it is a PC game, it will not be released for a while, so we plan to make a mobile game to attract popularity and test the waters. Susiener understood immediately. This is because they are afraid that the PC game will suddenly fail after it is launched, so it is better to use the mobile version of Azalane to test the market first. As long as the response is good, they will paint a big pie for the players and say that it will be made into a PC game. In this way, as long as the players are playing the mobile version of Azalane, they will always look forward to the appearance of the PC game. If the mobile version of Azalane fails, it is estimated that the PC game will be GG. Go to QQ, I'll send you the installation package of the mobile version, you can play it first. Okay, send it to me. Susiener's eyes lit up. She had just heard Yayuking talk about this game, and she was no longer sleepy. Obviously, She couldn't wait to play it. Although she couldn't play the terminal game, she could try the mobile game first. Then Susiener came to the computer, turned on the computer and received the installation package of Azalane sent by Yayuking from Penguin. I'll play it first, and call you if there are any shortcomings. No problem, then when will you live broadcast? I have to play the game at least. Okay, okay. After Susiener hung up the phone with her aunt, she installed the Azalane mobile game on the computer's mobile game simulator, and then opened the client. Seeing the screen was pitch black, she knew that Azalane was probably completed, but the character drawing was their headache. There are many studios in the circle now, but Miobi Studio is definitely the top character drawing studio in the country, no, the world, but although the studio has expanded a little, it is still not enough. According to Chen Shui's idea, it is to continue to expand the scale, but Susiener doesn't think so. If you want to go the boutique route, and you can't eat meat without giving others soup. Only when you can make money by drawing, will countless talents join this industry, inject vitality into ACK. The original idea of the team that Yayuking joined was to find Miobi Studio, but Miobi Studio had too many people looking for them, or, they had to queue up, and they didn't want to waste time, but they didn't want to retreat and find other studios. After all, in the industry, if they want to make a mobile game that they think is a second dimension, then they have to find Miobi Studio. Because only Miobi Studio knows about the understanding of ACK and the preferences of fans, this is already a point recognized by the industry. Miobi Teacher himself is a person in the comics circle, and even more so in the ACK circle. The reason why the current ACK industry has become active is largely attributed to Susiener. This is also the reason why NetEase and Tencent have been looking for Miobi Studio. Because Onmyoji and Honor of Kings are popular mobile games, but their painting style belongs to the second dimension, and they must strive for perfection in this regard. Modern online games pay the most attention to the picture-in-picture quality, because this represents the appearance of the game. If the face is not good looking, players probably won't be interested. Mobile games like Kankali pay more attention to the character portrait, or the character portrait is the top priority, so the members of the Azalane R/U0026D team all want Miobi Studio to take over the work of Kankali's character portrait. Susiener entered the account and password given to her by her aunt, and found that the secretary was a stickman when she logged in, which made her face dark. Should she be so lazy? Even if she didn't find the character portrait, for internal testing, wouldn't she be able to find some cute pictures on the internet? Susiener endured the secretaryship of the stickman, and after the novice teaching, she spent half an hour to understand the game thoroughly. The game is very simple, or the content of the Azalane in the terminal game mentioned by Amy Yip is basically not much in the mobile game. Then Susiener spent another hour to experience the lines of various ship girls and various barrages in the battle. Susiener couldn't say much about the battle. But the lines of various ship girls made her roll her eyes. Why are most of the ship girls' lines very erotic? Why did the previous life's ship C become popular in the island country and China? Because the character setting of ship C is really good, not just the appearance, from personality to lines. Every setting is very good, so that you can't even find a single one with the same personality among more than 100 ship girls. This is undoubtedly very difficult. The creation of characters is a place that authors, cartoonists, and even screenwriters have always been troubled by. Because most novels and comics are about whether the author can write the personality of the protagonist, supporting role, and villain. For example, two novels, the same story, but different character personalities will definitely be worlds apart. In the previous life, Ship C did not apply the traditional cute personality, but used a lot of historical stocks to make each ship girl's own personality one by one in a very detailed manner, distinguishing the role of each ship girl and giving each ship girl a unique charm. Even in the first most wanted to marry ship girl vote of the previous life, all members of Gansi received votes, and there was no zero vote. The settings of more than 100 characters were all recognized and loved. In this regard, few series in the industry can do it. And this is Gansi. Although she has not played as Elaine in her previous life, she has seen some of the characters, which are indeed exquisite and even seductive. But, the characters are seductive, which does not mean that the lines or even the text must be so. The portraits are for people to see and are used to be pleasing to the eye, but they do not represent the character's personality. Only the lines spoken by the ship girl are the character of the ship girl. The mobile version of As Elaine definitely has gameplay. Combined with the Eastern Barrage game that has not appeared in this world and the creativity of the ship girl, it is simply unreasonable not to be popular, but what Susiener saw was a fast food game. The gameplay is relatively monotonous, which is a common problem of all ship girl games. The blue lane uses barrage shooting as a point to make the gameplay slightly better, but after playing for a long time, some players who can't stand it will definitely give up the pit, because without the premise of love, fishing is a very boring job. So in order to retain more players, Susiener feels that since there is no ship girl game in this world, and the blue lane is the first, it must be refined and even let people have faith. As a collection game, the character setting is the top priority. For example, the portrait of the heavy cruiser Guying in the previous life ship C is that the left eye is dull and there are large burn marks at the corner of the eye. This setting comes from the action of turning on the searchlight, eyes, to attract enemy firepower in the night battle to cover the flagship Aoba during the Savo Island naval battle, and forcibly inserting in front of Aoba and using his body as a shield. Aoba was able to leave the front line, while Furutaka was bombarded fiercely, with a total of 90 bullets, and thus slept at the bottom of Savo Island. Such allusions are not only applicable to history otaku and military otaku. For ordinary players, after seeing the character setting, they will have a curious idea, and if they investigate, they will know the story behind it. Such an act of digging knowledge from the game itself is extremely interesting and attractive. And after knowing the background, they will have empathy, and will promote secondary creation. From the setting of a character, so much fun can be discovered. This high degree of in-depth exploration, except for Dongfang, Gansi can be said to be unmatched. Not to mention the lines and personality settings. Of course, what makes Susiener most amazing is the shipwreck system. What impressed Susiener the most was the last words of the ship girl after the ship sank in the game. The lines that were only said when the ship girl sank were deeply engraved in the players' hearts. If As Elaine can absorb these advantages, then perhaps a ship girl cult will be formed in this world. Susiener felt that it was necessary to combine the advantages of these two games, so that it would be interesting to play. Returned from collecting materials outside. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 243. While playing and thinking, Susiener's mind was obviously open. When Yayuking called again, Susiener said angrily, "This game of yours is simply a half-finished product, and you didn't put any effort into it." "Ah! What should I say?" Yayuking muttered in her heart. Why is her niece so knowledgeable about games? Obviously Jokinja did not tell her about Susiener's addiction to gaming in the past year. Why can't I complete the follow-up tasks after completing the preliminary tasks but not submitting them? Susiener was angered by the setting when she first completed the tasks. This was simply anti-human. Then, without waiting for Yayuking to speak, she said, "And the one that replaces weapons, can it be optimized? If I only have one weapon, I have to unload it first and then install it on another ship. It's too troublesome. This is simply a retarded setting." Also that daily challenge, "Can you make the ones that cannot be beaten today gray? They are all in color, which makes me think that they can be beaten." After hearing Susiener's complaint, Yayuking rolled his eyes and said, "This is a semi-finished mobile game. You ask for too much. In modern society, many games are fast food games, and most companies make a fortune and run away, This is especially true for mobile games. There are basically no mobile games that can survive for several years and remain popular. This has caused many game companies to be afraid of losing money, so they will release semi-finished games for players to try. If the response is good and it can be profitable, then they will optimize the experience in the future, such as what Susiener just said, a very troublesome setting for players. Of course, if the response is not good, you will probably have to leave after making a fortune. This is why many game players will mock themselves and say that they are playing a test server, because this is caused by the current game industry environment. Your sister. Susiener snorted, sorry, I never promote half-finished games. Don't. Yayuking had a headache when he heard it, so he could only say in a good voice, our team has little funds, so the game is like a semi-finished product. As long as the game is profitable, these can be optimized. Susiener rolled her eyes, these things are just a matter of the programmer's fingers. Why are you dragging me? Okay, I'm afraid of you, let me tell you the truth, Yayuking said helplessly, we actually all know these things, we deliberately kept them. Nowadays, most mobile games are semi-finished products for public testing to test profitability and be profitable. If so, we will naturally solve these optimizations. Of course, there is another point. Players will definitely discover these things that need to be optimized, and they will definitely make suggestions on various platforms and channels. As long as players put forward these troublesome settings, they will be solved. If we optimize in the next version, players will feel that this company is a company that actively listens to players' opinions, which will greatly increase their favorable impression of the company. The game will be more enjoyable to play, and the stickiness will be stronger. Susiener was stunned. After finally reacting, she couldn't help but said quietly, it's such a dark society. We have no choice. We also want to make a good game, but the market is like this. If we make a relatively perfect game, if we are not profitable, we will probably be laughed at by the industry. Yayuking is also very angry about this abnormality. Industry, but the unspoken rules now are like this. Coupled with the fact that modern games tend to be fast food, it is really difficult to make a globally popular game like World of Warcraft and League of Legends. Then do you think this as a lane will be popular? Susiener didn't say anything, but asked instead. She didn't believe that as a professional in the game industry, Yayuking couldn't see the quality of this game. Abel. Really? Since it can be done, why not plan it again? If it can become a classic, why should it be reduced to the public? Susiener felt that it was necessary to sleep with Yayuking to make him wake up. If the ship girl could become a cult in the previous life, then if this world can absorb the essence of many ship girl games, there is no doubt that it will become more popular, especially now. When ACK was initially developing rapidly, as long as the game Kanyeon came out, not to mention it became popular all over the world, there would be absolutely no problem across the country. Yayuking said awkwardly, actually, there are some things that need to be improved in this game. For example, when the ship girl goes out for a big break, that is, when she is sunk by the enemy, we all planned to make a big break painting, but the funds were tight, so we abandoned it. We plan to talk about this setting later. Of course, there is another important point, that is, we intend to use this game to make money and obtain funds for the PC game. This is the main purpose. Susiener suddenly realized, in other words, you are short of money. That's right, Yayuking said helplessly, this R/U0026D team is relatively young. Susiener said contemptuously, does this mean you are using this game to cheat people out of money? Ahem, you can say that. If I invest in you, can you improve this game? How much money does Susiener have now? She doesn't know it herself, but anyway, your name has already been made, and there is no need for her to invest in it. And every month she gets royalties from Tencent Animation, and she even watched it excitedly before. Now she doesn't even watch it, as long as she has money to spend money on it. Huh, yeah, Yuking was stunned, and then suddenly realized that her niece was now a little rich woman. How much money Book of Life and Death made for the other party must be an astronomical figure. Isn't investing in a mobile game a trivial matter? Obviously, Amy Yip didn't know that the Book of Life and Death didn't make any money for Susienur, or that the money from the Book of Life and Death hadn't been received yet. The money from the Book of Life and Death will probably have to wait until the Chinese New Year to be distributed. Tencent Animation originally allowed players to watch the Book of Life and Death for free, so of course it made a lot of money. After all, there were also rewards, especially the rewards for tomato scrambled eggs, which made her wallet bulge again. So investing in mobile games is a piece of cake. What conditions do you have? Conditions. Of course, make the game perfect for me, Susiener snorted, and after playing for most of the day, I also have a lot of creative ideas to share with your planning group and our /U0026D team. Yeah, Yuking heard this and became worried, and said vigilantly, I tell you, unless it's a good idea, I will reject it. Of course. Then when will you come to Yanjing? Anyway, you will definitely come to the university, so you might as well come early. Go to hell, Susiener said disdainfully, wait for me to play for a while, and we can talk on YY voice tomorrow. Yeah, Yuking was speechless. Then Susiener was anxious to understand the game, so she sent her aunt away. After that, Susiener played this half-finished as a lane at home all day, and played it all day long. When she went to bed at night, Susiener always felt something was wrong. Did you forget something? MMP. Miobi teacher, it was said that Food Wars Shokyuji no Soma would be released today. I waited for a whole day, but it was postponed. I knew it would be postponed, I'm already lying in bed. Miobi dad, please update. Why call me dad? Call me mom. What's going on? No update. Zhao Jing, who was at home, saw this and felt helpless. The original plan was to update 3 episodes of Food Wars Shokyuji no Soma at 9 o'clock in the evening to make up for the delay for so long, but it was postponed again tonight. Zhao Jing looked at the phone, his face turned black. It was turned off. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 244. Why hasn't teacher Miobi updated it yet? Luoan is at home. It has been refreshing for more than an hour. It is now early 10 o'clock in the evening, and his hair is almost bald. It turns out that under the author number of Susiener's wonderful pen, there is still the comic title of The Spirit of the Halberd Eater, and there is no content in the serialization at all. Looking at the achievement of the $1 million collection, Luoan's heart is no longer shaken. When he first noticed it, his eyelids were twitching. After all, the collection of this comic was too terrifying. He originally thought that teacher Miobi would publish it himself, but he didn't expect that the other party came to him directly and asked him to assist. Luoan was deeply grateful, but he flatly rejected the nomination as second author, very decisively. He knew that Susiener wanted to support him, but his status and identity were not at that level yet, and he just wanted to think about some Chinese dishes. It was Susiener who had to consider the plot of the story, and he couldn't use teacher Miobi. Became famous. This point made Susiener look at Luoan with admiration. But since the other party refused, Susiener didn't do anything. Even if she didn't mention it in the comics, she still mentioned it on Weibo. When people in the Xianyu concentration camp found out about this, they all expressed envy, jealousy, and hatred, saying that they were lucky to be in Anan, which was in line with Lu Xun's famous saying, "Stupid people have stupid blessings, but stupid people don't." Of course, Susiener also informed by the way that 3 episodes of The Spirit of the Halberd Eater will be released at 9 o'clock tonight. As a result, Luoan kept refreshing at night. It has been more than an hour and it has not been refreshed yet. Watching Susiener's fans in the comment area start to make a fuss, Luoan felt nervous, fearing that a bunch of black marks would appear, or some fans would turn negative. However, he obviously doesn't know that Susiener's fans are just a bunch of weird part-time trolls, and there will definitely be trouble, but when it comes to fans turning into blackmail, there is basically no chance of them turning into fans. After all, Susiener's personal ability to attract fans is too strong. Needless to say, Sujug is in the front and has been attracting fans. Now anyone who knows Sujug knows Susiener, and everyone who knows Susiener knows Sujug. It's serialized. It's serialized. It's been updated. Damn it, it's been updated. It only beat us for more than an hour? What a miracle. Think about the game that teacher Miobi mentioned. There is no news yet. I have been waiting for it for months. I don't know if it will be released in the end. Yes, MMP also said that they would participate in a comic exhibition during the summer vacation. They said that there would be a beautiful girl cosplaying, but I guess they didn't do it. There is no news about Station B. What nonsense are you talking about? Let's read comics. I'll go. Teacher Miobi seems to have posted an announcement in the comment area. Seeing this comment, Luoan refreshed the book review area and saw a message pinned to the top. I'm so sorry for the delay of an hour and a half. However, this was requested by Tencent Animation, because at around 8 o'clock, Tencent Animation carried out partial maintenance on the website. They were afraid that after the update, the website would crash due to the number of people, so Spirit of the Shokugeki was implicated. If you want to criticize, blame Tencent Animation. Seeing this announcement, Luoan suddenly realized. Indeed, there are millions of collections. Moreover, teacher Miobi's appeal is not that strong, let alone hungry marketing for so long. But that last sentence is a bit weird and makes people laugh. Shouldn't normal people take the blame? Why are there still people using the website to take the blame? However, Luoan didn't know that Zhao Jing laughed angrily when he saw this comment. What a wonderful little guy. Tencent Animation's maintenance is terrible, and it is still partially maintained. I must have forgotten it, so I took the blame on the website. If he didn't know better, Zhao Jing would probably have believed Susiener's words. Susiener's cell phone was turned off just now. He was so worried that he poked the penguin and even approached Chen Rui, but Chen Rui couldn't do anything. Then his eyes lit up and he contacted Asada Sayori and asked Asada Sayori for help in contacting Susiener. Finally, Asada Sayori contacted Susiener through Lin Jingshu's phone, and then Susiener was woken up. How come you can forget such important things? Also, you went to bed so early, and you locked the door and turned off your phone. Lin Jingshu gritted her teeth and looked at Susiener, wanting to bite her and make her look how awesome she is. Susiener smiled awkwardly. Hey, aren't you addicted to playing games today, so you feel sleepy very early? I played as a lane for a day today. Although it is a stick figure game, it still has gameplay. In addition, this is the first time she has really started playing a ship girl game, so she is very interested. As soon as she started playing, she became addicted. By the time the liver couldn't bear it anymore and she was mentally exhausted, it was already 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. After dinner, she was ready to go to bed to catch up on her sleep. What about locking the door and turning off the phone? You've never locked the door before. Will I wake you up if I don't lock the door? Thinking of being forcibly awakened in the morning, Susiener became angry. As for shutting down, of course it's time to have a good sleep. We can't all take a vacation. She will be busier than when she was in school, right? She will definitely become promiscuous in the next 2 months. I've been watching horror movies recently, so I always feel that if I don't lock the door, strange things will come in. I don't feel safe. Is that so? Lin Jingshu looked at Susiener suspiciously, but when she thought that horror movies are indeed scary, she no longer doubted it. Then she hesitated and said, "Then you can come to me, can't we sleep together?" Upon hearing this, Susianer looked at Lin Jingshu in surprise. "What's wrong?" Lin Jingshu touched her face and asked strangely. "Nothing. I'll get on your bed later." Happiness came too suddenly, and Susianer was a little caught off guard. Although she had slept with Lin Jingshu before, it was all caused by various events. Now Lin Jingshu actually asked for it? Really, really exciting. By the way, turn on your phone quickly. Sister Sayori has something to talk to you about. I told you this morning, but you didn't call Sister Sayori all day. Lin Jingshu looked at Susianer with an innocent face speechlessly, and really didn't know what to say. Why is the grade so good when the memory is so bad? It's really hard to figure it out. Let's talk about that tomorrow. No. You forgot it again. Tomorrow. Thinking of Asada Sayori's pitiful tone, Lin Jingshu naturally couldn't let Susianer delay the other party again. Okay, I'll call her now. I'll go to the bathroom to call her. Susianer suddenly thought that Asada Sayori was going to tell her about the song selection competition, so she couldn't let Lin Jingshu know. After all, if Lin Jingshu knew about Sakura, she would be affected by her sentimental mood. Besides, since Asada Sayori didn't tell Lin Jingshu, she didn't want her to know and worry. Go ahead, I'll take a look at the comics you drew. It's definitely good, and it's a hot-blooded comic. In the previous life, Food Wars, Shokuji no Soma was serialized in Shonen Jump, and it was also classified as a hot-blooded comic. After all, it is really hot-blooded. Of course, many people read it as a meat manga and a food manga, and this is a matter of personal opinion. Well, Susianer read it as a meat manga. Coming to the bathroom, sitting on the toilet seat, Susianer picked up the phone and called Asada Sayori. I've been waiting for you for a day. You actually forgot. Beep beep beep. As soon as Asada Sayori's voice came over, she heard a beep beep hang up sound. Mr. Miyobi, I was wrong. When Susianer answered the call from Sayori Asada and heard the other party's soft voice, she thought of the scene of being bullied before, and her face was full of satisfaction. I want to be strong. I want to rise. I want to work hard. 5 more chapters tomorrow. The salted fish is going to turn over, and I can't be lazy anymore. Omega You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 245. MMP finally updated. Yeching was on vacation at home, and like Luoan, he refreshed for half a day in the evening. When he refreshed the content of the 3rd episode of Food Wars, Shokuji no Soma, he couldn't help crying with joy, and he didn't forget to tag all the members in the group leader group of the Jug Princess Guardian Association. Even Yeching himself didn't know how many subgroups the Jug Princess Association had, because no official staff had come to him to help him count them. It can be said that Yeching has been looking forward to the official contact of Bilibili to make the Jug Princess Association a real official fan group. As a part-time head of a college student, Yeching has done his best. Looking at this group leader group, everyone in it is the head of each major group. If he has any latest news about Miyobi teacher or Sujug, he only needs to notify this group, and then the major groups will return to their own groups to notify them. And this group leader group is already full with 2,000 people. But Yeching knew that this was not all the subgroup leaders. As a college student who has been wandering on the internet for many years, Yeching knew that he had a very large hidden resource in his hands. Unfortunately, he also knew that he could not use it for personal gain. If he really did so, his position as the general group leader would also be over. Now he, or all the subgroup leaders now, hope that Bilibili can find them and let themselves truly become officially certified fan groups. Why do other stars have official fan groups, but their Princess Jug and teacher Myobi don't? Thinking of this, Yeching directly clicked on the first episode of Food Wars. Soma and couldn't help but sigh, it's been too long. This comic has been waiting for too long for these fans. It has been almost a month since Susiener said it, and now after the college entrance examination, and it is only now released. Many people thought that teacher Myobi was going to postpone it again, but they didn't expect that Susiener posted a Weibo 2 days ago saying that it would be updated today, and these zombie fans who had collected it came back to life. Opening the first page and looking at the colorful paintings, Yeching was moved. In fact, when Myobi teacher said that he wanted to draw a color comic, these fans had no expectations. After all, they were used to Myobi teacher's black and white comics. If other cartoonists' comics were not in color, they would have thought that comics in this world were originally black and white. Especially those newbies who were brought into the pit by Myobi teacher's comics. The first time they read comics was also the comics drawn by Myobi teacher. They all thought that comics in the comic world were black and white. Later, they learned that only Myobi teacher's comics were black and white, and the others were all color comics, which made people not know how to complain. And this time, Food Wars. Soma was unexpectedly a color comic. Yeching quickly flipped through a few pages and finally breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay if it's not a black and white comic. Then he turned to the first page and started reading from the beginning. If Myobi teacher hadn't said on Weibo that it was to snipe the cartoonist named Zion for plagiarizing ideas, these fans wouldn't know that the name of the comic Food Wars. Soma was a food comic. However, when he glanced at it slightly, he couldn't help but be shocked. How come it's classified as a hot-blooded manga? Tencent Comics classification is very rigorous in the industry. It will not misclassify some youth comedy comics, let alone classify a food comic as a hot-blooded manga. Yeching's mouth twitched, and he planned to find customer service to give feedback later. Now it's more important to read the comics. The first episode of Food Wars. Soma tells a very simple story. In short, the protagonist Yukihira has been learning cooking from his father since he was a child, and when he competed with his father, he lost all the battles. The first episode tells that the protagonist Yukihira lost again, and then when his father was away, the people from the urban life planning company came to the door and wanted to demolish the store. After that, they made things difficult for the protagonist, but were conquered by the protagonist's imitation crispy barbecue made with thick bacon and potatoes, and gave up the demolition. As a result, the protagonist's father had something to do and planned to close the store for 2 or 3 years and send the protagonist to Tatsuki Academy. Of course, as a die-hard fan, Yeching, who is a viewer, reads comics very carefully. Although Myobi teacher said that the second author is a cartoonist named Luoan, and the painting style is different from the past, the story is thought of by Myobi teacher. This point is enough. There are many schools of thought in the current painting style. To be honest, Susiener's painting style is not outstanding. 1 year is enough for major cartoonists to imitate the painting style and create their own painting style. However, why does Myobi teacher's status in the comics industry not decline at all, but is getting higher and higher? It is completely the story of Myobi teacher's comics that conquered them and made them unable to stop reading, so the story is thought of by Myobi teacher, which is enough. However, when Yeching was flipping through the pages, he almost choked to death. He only flipped 3 or 4 pages, and saw a female classmate of the protagonist eating the new dish made by the protagonist. On the next page, he saw that the female classmate was touched all over by the octopus tentacles, and the painter even drew that kind of sticky touch. My God! Yeching was stunned. Isn't this a food manga? Why is there a book plot? However, when he continued to flip through the pages, he found that the picture just now seemed to show the taste of food in the mouth of the diners. Using this almost book-like content to show the taste of food. Really, Really great. If Susiener was in front of him, Yeching would definitely give Susiener a thumbs up. She is worthy of being a wonderful teacher, a pioneer of the book style, and an old driver. To actually use the kind of scenes from the book to show them in a normal comic is simply genius. And the painting is really erotic. Since becoming a fan of Teacher Miyobi, Yeching, as a fan, wanted to know more about Teacher Miyobi, so he went to learn about the comics industry. He knew that Teacher Miyobi's approach was very bold, but he had to say that the other party would use this kind of approach. The picture was integrated into the food comic, making him feel very harmonious. There are very few food comics in the comics industry. Recently, there are only two. One is The Spirit of the Shouting Halberd, and the other is Zion's food comic. To be honest, Zion's food comic has many mistakes and omissions. The most serious one is that the food preparation is completely different from reality, and it is more magical. And whether the food is delicious or not can only be understood from the characters' expressions and words. But Mr. Miyobi used this method to express the pros and cons of food in comics, which really amazed him. Yeching continued to read, and the more he read, the more interesting it became, especially when the demolition crews came to create difficulties. The protagonist's imitation crispy barbecue made with potatoes and thick bacon made his mouth water. Yeah, you really shouldn't watch this kind of thing at night. The power of color comics was fully demonstrated at this time, and the cartoonist used more than half of the page to represent food. The lines on the food were clearly visible, and the steaming heat made Yeching swallow hard. In the words of the comic, "Why can you make such mouth-watering crispy barbecue? Xiao Qing, your mother asked you to go out and buy Xiao Chaos for a midnight snack." When the voice sounded, yes, father had already walked to Yeching with the money, and then looked at the computer screen. The majestic Chinese character's face was expressionless. Yeching made a sound and looked at the computer screen. What was shown at this time was the scene of the demolished imperial sister eating the crispy barbecue made by the protagonist. Unsightly. 1/5. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao Bai Sheng Wu. Chapter 246. When Yeching came back from buying wontons, he put the things on the table. Seeing his father looking at him, he turned away guiltily, not noticing the meaningful look in his father's eyes. His father didn't even give him a chance to explain. He put the money down, patted his shoulder and went out. Yeching felt that it was necessary to explain to his father when he had supper later. When he returned to the room, he saw a USB flash drive next to the mouse on the computer desk. Yeching was stunned. When did this thing appear here? Confused, Yeching planned to finish reading the comics first. As soon as he went online, he saw Li Xiangdong and Yuan Dong poking him crazily. Old yeah, the book review section is crazy. Damn, this is the first time I'm addicted to food comics. It's so damn good. The heroine Arena in the back. Yeching's face darkened. Of course I know it's good, but the question is, can you not spoil it? When Yeching continued to read the comics, the book review section had already exploded. I'm hungry after reading this. Why is it a color comic? I discovered the conspiracy of Mr. Miyobi. After reading these 3 chapters, I only have one question: what will happen if the heroine Arena's divine tongue is given to the protagonist? The above is just a ghost, but now that I think about it, the heroine's facial expression after eating in the 3rd chapter is no different from Gao Chao. I admire Mr. Miyobi. A food comic can be combined with the book. The scene of the heroine tasting food at the beginning of the 2nd chapter is so vivid and vivid. I laughed so hard. Sure enough, Mr. Miyobi should just draw the book. Damn, those eating scenes are so addictive. Already done. Miyobi is too caring for us and our tribesmen. It seems that basically in the comics drawn by Mr. Miyobi, the heroines are with the tribesmen. Long live the teacher. In Food Wars. Soma, Susienor naturally changed the protagonist's name to Yukihira, but did not change Arananakiri's name. As for why? Of course, I was too lazy to change it, but in the eyes of fans, these small details are just to take care of those fans of the tribe, which greatly increased the favorability of many fans. When Yeching continued to read the comics, the comments in the book review area increased by dozens of comments per second, which made some people who were paying attention to the situation of food wars Soma feel relieved, but also gave some people a headache. And Zhao Jing was one of the people who breathed a sigh of relief. After all, this is a food comic, a niche theme, and whether it can be popular depends on the situation. But now the situation in the book review area clearly shows that this comic of food wars Soma is good looking. He has also read it himself. I have to say that he was worried at the beginning whether this was a comic of Susienor's hobby. Combine food with the book. In the end, he realized that these slightly erotic pictures all show the taste of food in the mouths of diners. This three-dimensional picture shows readers, so that readers don't even need to express in words to know whether this thing is delicious or not. This makes Zhao Jing, who has read comics for decades, interested, not to mention those fans. The fact that the book review section is full of positive reviews is proof of this. The people who are having a headache are the people on other comic websites. Of course, there is another person who is even more troubled, that is Zion. When Susienor was chatting with Luoan in the group, he even privately poked Luoan after the two of them finished chatting to discuss the subject with him. As a result, he stole it. Now the book review section is full of people scolding him. Even the fans who thought he was a fresh stream of food comics have turned against him. There is no way, he is unpopular. Even if he keeps silent, it is useless. Susienor's reputation is there. Since there are pictures and the truth, Zion's plagiarism is obviously not clear. At this time, Susienor, who was on the phone with Asada Sayori, obviously didn't know what happened online, or she had no fluctuations in her heart about the positive reviews online. Because later she only had to post the comics that Luoan gave her. Although the story was provided by her, she didn't draw it at all, so she didn't have any sense of accomplishment. Tell me what's going on. What else? Of course it's the song selection competition. Asada Sayori was mad. This little guy was asking knowingly. He called the other party in the morning, but the other party didn't answer the phone. He had no choice but to call Jingshu's cell phone, and got Lin Jingshu's promise, but Susienor didn't call her for a whole day. If she didn't know that Lin Jingshu wouldn't lie to her, she would have thought that the other party didn't inform Susienor. When does it start? There are still 2 days. It will start on Saturday. Today, Sakura Group has already warmed up online. Don't you know? Such overwhelming publicity. Susienor touched her little head. She didn't care about anything outside the window. She was focused on playing Kankali. How could she have time to go online? Seeing Susienor silent, Asada Sayori was speechless and helpless. Asada Sayori really didn't know what to say to the other party's character. The best she could do was to say viciously, "If you don't compose a good song for me, I will draw a lesbian version of Sujug. Don't forget that your contract is still with me." I know Susienor pouted. She didn't take the other party's threat seriously. "Do you have any ideas now?" Asada Sayori said expectantly, hoping that Susienor would have inspiration now, or that she had already arranged the music. No, Susienor hasn't thought about this recently. She has been lazy at home and addicted to videos and games. She hasn't thought about it. However, in her opinion, she had already had some ideas at the beginning, but she just couldn't remember them. Okay, Asada Sayori sighed, "If you have inspiration or have already arranged the music, forget it, just sign up and record the song and submit it to the judges." Asada Sayori is not a judge. She wanted to be one, but Suzuki Akiko didn't let her. Asada Sayori knew that Suzuki Akiko did it on purpose, because if she was a judge, every time she heard the songs in the selection competition, she would think of Xiaoying. Suzuki Akiko didn't want her to feel sad, so she asked her to find an associate professor of the Department of Music at Huaxia Conservatory of Music to be a judge. Thinking of this, before Susienner could speak, Asada Sayori said, "By the way, has your phone been turned off all day?" "Yes." Asada Sayori was speechless. "An hour ago, Huang Guang, an associate professor at Huaxia Conservatory of Music, called me and said that your phone was turned off all the time and he couldn't contact you." "Associate professor at Huaxia Conservatory of Music? Why did he contact me?" Just after she finished speaking, Susienner suddenly realized, "Is it about the assessment?" "Yes. Others arrived yesterday, but considering that you are taking the college entrance examination, they delayed contacting you for 1 day, but your phone was turned off." Asada Sayori was very upset, but she also complained in her heart that Huang Guang was patient and didn't contact her until just now to find out if there was any other way to contact Susienner. Of course, what Asada Sayori didn't know was that Huang Guang had just arrived in Shanghai and had a day of fun first. "It's not possible to take the assessment now. I guess he should have gone to bed, but you'd better send him a text message and make an appointment tomorrow." Susienner was embarrassed. She actually forgot about this matter. 2/5. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 248. In order to get up on time the next day, Susienner asked Lin Jingshu to make a time schedule for her. The form is as follows. Get up at 7 in the morning, wash up, have breakfast, and go out at 8. At 8:30, I arrived at the recording studio where I had an appointment with Huang Guang. I conducted a music assessment in the recording studio and played mobile games during the period. After the 10 o'clock assessment, go to Station B to discuss Sujug's character contract with Chen Rui, so that Sujug can become the Jug destroyer of Azalane. Play with your phone while riding in the car. The discussion was completed at 11:30, and ended with Susienner persuading Chen Rui. During the period, they reviewed the production progress of Beautiful Girl 1 Who a Mirror, discussed the live broadcast for Azalane, and tested Chen Rui to see if he wanted Station B represent Azalane. At 12 o'clock, I went online to read about the song selection contest. I took some time to think about what song to sing. When I thought of it, I talked to Asada Sayori. Unexpectedly, I played a game. At 1 o'clock at noon, I surfed the internet for a while and played some League of Legends. After dinner in the evening, I went to YY to talk to my aunt about persuading Chen Rui and investing at noon, and then discussed some game settings with the Azalane R/U0026D team. Sleep later. Perfect. Are you sure that's all? Nothing else. Lin Jingshu sat in front of the computer with a suspicious look on her face, using a ball pen to write down what Susienner would do tomorrow on a white paper. She was afraid that Susienner had forgotten something. If something went wrong tomorrow, if she didn't arrange it well, wouldn't the schedule be over? Moreover, she felt that these things could be done over several days. If she finished them in 1 day, time would be too tight. How can you put everything in the morning? And can we really accomplish these things this early in the morning? Looking at the afternoon schedule, Lin Jingshu was speechless. Susienner fully wanted to finish things in the morning and start playing. No more. Susienner thought hard for a moment and nodded seriously like a chicken pecking at rice. Susienner thought that if she was serious, she would not forget anything. Okay. Lin Jingshu looked at the time. It was 10:30, go to bed and get up early tomorrow. Susienner made an okay gesture, and then she saw Lin Jingshu unplugging her network cable, and then confiscating her mobile phone and tablet on the bed. This scene made her dumbfounded. What is this? I'm afraid that if you get up in the middle of the night to surf the internet, or lie in bed and play with your mobile phone later, what will happen if you fall asleep late? Lin Jingshu said angrily. Don't tell me that you have me, Every time I call you, you will all kinds of excuses to stay in bed, and, I remind you, don't lock the door. That's okay, Susiana reluctantly nodded. She was already very sleepy anyway, or she was already very sleepy just now, and she was woken up by Lin Jingshu. It's just that no matter how sleepy she is used to going to bed and playing with her mobile phone, so she is a little uncomfortable with it. Seeing Susiana go to bed obediently, Lin Jingshu nodded with satisfaction. It seemed that the other party would implement the schedule for tomorrow as planned. Of course, Lin Jingshu was still very nervous about tomorrow's music school assessment. After saying hello to Susiana, she went back to her room to get ready for bed. Tomorrow morning I have to brace myself up for the assessment at the Conservatory of Music. Both of them have wonderful ideas. The next morning, Susiana felt her body shaking violently and woke up instantly. Then she opened her sleepy eyes and looked at Lin Jingshu, who looked anxious and confused, and said confusedly, "What's wrong?" As she spoke, she yawned and rubbed her eyes. She was still very sleepy. Although she went to bed earlier than before yesterday, she had played games for too long and was mentally exhausted. She thought, let me sleep for 5 more minutes. After getting up, she remembered the time schedule she made yesterday, but it must be very early now. After all, Lin Jingshu usually called her early. Still sleeping, it's 10 o'clock, Lin Jingshu said in a tearful voice. Today is the time for the assessment. She has to go to the recording studio to meet Huang Guang at 8:30 in the morning to participate in the other party's assessment, but it's already 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Susiana looked at Lin Jingshu with doubtful eyes, and then, suddenly turned from confusion to confusion, and finally shouted in shock, "It's 10 o'clock. Damn it! What's going on? It's already 10 o'clock. However, Susiana suddenly calmed down again. After thinking about it, 10 o'clock would be 10 o'clock, and since it was already 10 o'clock, let's postpone the schedule until tomorrow. Thinking of this, Susiana yawned again and wanted to fall asleep, but looking at Lin Jingshu and then looking at the other person holding her mobile phone, Susiana took it over, then looked for the address book, and said the phone with the yellow light on it was called. When Huang Guang answered, Susiana said without waiting for the other party to speak, I have something urgent today. I might not be able to go tomorrow. Before she finished speaking, Lin Jingshu snatched the phone away. Lin Jingshu said in a guilty and apologetic tone, "Professor Huang, I'm sorry. We were too nervous about the assessment, so we went to bed late. Are you still in the recording studio? Are you still there? Can we go over now?" "Okay, please, we're going over now, I'm so sorry." After Lin Jingshu hung up Huang Guang's call, she looked at Susiana who looked confused, lifted her quilt and said, "Get up." "No way. That Professor Huang actually waited for us for an hour and a half," Susiana complained in her heart when she heard this. "This guy must be a ninja turtle. His patience is really strong and unparalleled." Then she looked at the culprit of this incident and couldn't help but ask, "Jingshu, didn't you say you would wake me up at 7 o'clock? Lin Jingshu was embarrassed and angry, "It's because your plan is too early. I thought about the test today and was so nervous that I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night. When I fell asleep, it was 3 or 4 in the middle of the night." Seeing Lin Jingshu pushing the blame, Susiana rolled her eyes and was too lazy to argue with her. "You go wash up first, I'll sleep for another 5 minutes." As soon as she finished speaking, Susiana found that her body was out of her control and was pulled up. "Hurry up and get up. Our plan is scrapped, why are you so anxious? Anyway, the professor has been waiting for an hour and a half, so these few minutes don't matter." Lin Jingshu was speechless. Finally, Susiana couldn't sleep because of Lin Jingshu's harassment, and she was refreshed after such a disturbance, so she simply got up. After the two washed up and changed their clothes, Susiana covered her stomach and said, "Let's eat first, I'm hungry. Lin Jingshu had a blank expression on her face. She stopped a taxi on the street and pulled Susiana into the car directly. What if I don't eat and fail the assessment? Let's meet Professor Huang first. We can't keep others waiting. Lin Jingshu was worried and anxious now. She estimated that her and the others' ratings in Professor Huang's heart would drop a lot. When she thought of this, Lin Jing felt heavy in her heart. Susiana couldn't help sighing when she saw this. She was indeed a little girl, and she lost her sense of proportion all of a sudden. Then she thought of the timetable she had planned in detail yesterday, and her mouth twitched. Time planning tables and the like are really unreliable. Whoever does this thing in the future is a mentally retarded person. 1/5. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 249. The taxi was very fast, and the place we made an appointment with Huang Guang was not far away, so we arrived in only 10 minutes. Arriving at the Xi'an recording studio where the song was originally recorded, Susiana and Lin Jingshu got out of the car and looked around. Lin Jingshu thought in her mind, isn't that Professor Huang leaving? Are you too nervous? Who would wait for two people at the door of the recording studio for nearly 2 hours after eating so much? I guess the professor is in the recording studio, and don't we have his phone number? Let's give him a call. That's it? Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. Then, you call. Lin Jingshu was obviously still worried. Seeing this, Susiana was speechless. She was so vigorous and resolute when she snatched the mobile phone at home, but now she is so cowardly. However, Susiana knew that Lin Jingshu had such a personality. She was very cheerful with people she knew well, but very introverted with people she didn't know well. Thinking about it, she picked up her mobile phone and called Huang Guang. Professor Huang, we are here. Yes, we are already at the door. Are you in the recording studio? No. Okay, we will wait for you at the door. After hanging up the phone, Susiana smacked her mouth and said, didn't this guy get up just now, or was he woken up by the phone call I just made at home, and then got up? When Lin Jingshu saw that Susiana was speculating on others with the utmost malice, she couldn't help but said angrily, do you think everyone is the same as you? TCH, there are a lot of people lazier than me. Susiana and Lin Jingshu chatted incessantly. Feeling the heavy mood of the other party, they were too lazy to comfort them. A little girl like Lin Jingshu just likes to think too much. Won't she be late? It's not like the sky is falling. Are you students Su and Lin? About 5 minutes later, a gentle voice came from behind the two of them. When Lin Jingshu and Susiana turned their heads, Susiana almost doubted her life, your voice is too different from other people's. When she didn't see him and asked about him, Susiana thought it was a gentle and handsome uncle, but she didn't expect that what came into view was a middle-aged fat man. But, Huang Guang's body is not fat, but his face is fat. With a round face, like Maitreya Buddha, with a gentle smile, he looked at Susiana and Lin Jingshu up and down, nodded with satisfaction, and then laughed heartily when he heard Susiana's words, don't you know is the voice of fat paper generally very magnetic? As soon as they met, Huang Guang knew that the person who looked like he was not too big or too small when he spoke was Susiana, but he was generally informal in this regard. Of course, there is another aspect, that is, he learned about Susiana's character from Asada Sayori's mouth, and had an outline of Susiana in his mind. Now that he met her, it turned out to be exactly as he imagined. Of course, the other party's appearance was so good that he was a little surprised. Then he looked at Lin Jingshu next to Susiana. As soon as the other party saw him, her expression became very nervous. He knew in his heart that Lin Jingshu must be under too much psychological pressure. Thinking of this, he said, "You guys came here just after waking up. You probably didn't have breakfast, right? Well, the assessment is not urgent, I'll treat you to breakfast 2 days ago. I found that the 3 delicacies wontons in Magic City are really good, and they fill your stomach. Strength test. Let's go, let's eat first." Susiener's eyes lit up, and her favorable impression of Huang Guang rose by a percentage point. Then she took Lin Jingshu's hand, obviously very hungry. Lin Jingshu always seemed nervous in front of strangers, so she had to let Susiener hold her. Huang Guang was interested in getting to know the two of them, and did not take any time to chat with Susiener on the road. By the time they arrived at the breakfast restaurant, Huang Guang was already familiar with Susiener. Of course, Huang Guang also knew that Susiener was not that difficult to get along with, it was just that the other person's way of speaking was straight to the point, relatively pure. Many times, the corners of his mouth twitched, leaving him speechless. For example, Susiener asked him why he wasn't waiting for them in the recording studio. Huang Guang replied that he came over at 8:30 and didn't see the two of them, so he went to the cinema to watch a movie. He was not a fool. He had been cheated for a whole day, so how could he wait in the recording studio stupidly? So when he received a call from Susiener at 10 o'clock, he was very calm when he learned that the two of them had gone to bed late. In the end, Susiener complained directly about his lack of professionalism, and even complained to Lin Jingshu in front of him, "I wish I could have slept a little longer," and so on. Huang Guang couldn't laugh or cry. By the way, I won't sing after the assessment. Susiener was eating wontons when something suddenly occurred to her, and she said directly to Huang Guang, "Didn't Dean Li say that you just came over to walk through the ceremony of?" When Huang Guang heard this, he was not angry. He wiped his mouth with a tissue very calmly, then nodded and said, "Okay, but you have to answer me a question, that is, you are so good at painting and can definitely go to the Academy of Fine Arts, why do you want to run away? Come to our Huaxia Conservatory of Music." Susiener was shocked. She didn't expect the other party to agree so easily. She just said it casually. Of course she didn't know that her song "Sakura Sakura Wants to See You" alone would not be enough to directly enroll in the Conservatory of Music, but with Sayori Asada's recommendation, coupled with her own experience in music, it would be enough for the Conservatory of Music to recruit. She did. Now that Huang Guang has come to the Magic City, he naturally knows that his mother does not want to be blamed. "Because Jingshu is going to the Conservatory of Music, I will also go to the Conservatory of Music." When Huang Guang heard this, his lips twitched, but in the end he didn't say anything, he just smiled and nodded. He thought he would hear some compliments like "because Huaxia Conservatory of Music is the cradle of artists," but it turned out to be such a hummed-up reason. As an associate professor of Huaxia Conservatory of Music, Huang Guang felt ashamed at this moment. Then when Huang Guang was in pain, Susiener said, "Since I don't need to take the test, then Jingshu doesn't need to take the test either." Lin Jingshu was eating wonton silently beside her. Hearing this, she couldn't help but pull at her clothes anxiously, asking Susiener not to push her too far. "You know, no matter what the test is, a person's impression score is very important to the examiners, and since Huang Guang is an associate professor, he deserves their respect. How can he be so casual?" Huang Guang was almost choked to death by this. In his opinion, it didn't matter whether Susiener took the test or not, because she passed all the tests anyway. But, Lin Jingshu didn't have a resume like Susiener. However, although Huang Guang was very excited, he said calmly on the surface, "Okay." Really, Lin Jingshu was shocked, and Susiener couldn't help but blurt out, and then looked at Huang Guang suspiciously and asked, "You are not a fake?" Huang Guang couldn't help laughing, "Isn't this what you asked for? You agreed too easily, I just said that." 2/5. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 250. You agreed too easily. I just said it casually. Just say it, your sister. Huang Guang roared in his heart, but his expression seemed very calm. He said calmly, of course, ordinary assessors will not agree, but I am different. I am a professor. The assessment of a student is not a unilateral and vulgar one based on music, a test of talent. Seeing Lin Jingshu and Su Xian'er looking at him with confused expressions, Huang Guang said with an inscrutable expression, Student Su, of course, your talent does not need to be said, it is enough for you to be willful, but in terms of music, you need to work harder, and you must know that reality has many examples of injuries to Zhonyang. A moment of inspiration does not mean a lifetime of talent, but now you are enough to open the door to the Huaxia Conservatory of Music. Of course, Mr. Lin does not need to be assessed, and it is also because of you. Ordinary assessors only assess one aspect of music talent, but as a professor, I prefer to judge a person from all aspects. Like you, classmate Lin is a talented person, but classmate Lin is more in-depth and hard-working in the study of music. He is a hard-working talent and will become famous sooner or later. Although he is not as talented as Su in terms of creative talent, as her friend, you want her to sing if you have a suitable song for her? So I think that the two of you entering the Huaxia Conservatory of Music can stimulate your own development. In my opinion, enrolling one person is not as perfect as two entering the school together. After saying that, Huang Guang smiled slightly, quite like a famous teacher. Of course, only he knew that everything he said was nonsense. As for why? The reason is actually very simple. He just wants to establish an image of famous teachers in Su Xian'er and Lin Jingshu. If Su Xian'er and Lin Jingshu enroll in school, they will definitely go to the music department. According to his mother, he will be their teacher by then. As a teacher, Huang Guang has a bad habit of erecting a tall spiritual image of himself in front of his students. It has nothing to do with anything else, just because he likes the way students look at him with reverence, which is a kind of spiritual satisfaction. At a small level, it's vanity, at a large level, it's just a quirk. Of course, Huang Guang's own musical literacy is still very professional, and what he doesn't like to do the most is time-wasting things. If his mother hadn't asked him to do this, he would definitely not come to Shanghai. After all, in his opinion, Su Xian'er and Lin Jingshu were 100% qualified to enter the Huaxia Conservatory of Music, so why did he rush over to take the exam after he was full? With this time, it would be better to surf the internet and play games at home. What he hates most is running around the world. Isn't it good to be an older homebody? Yes, the biggest difference between Huang Guang and those otakus who just wait to die is that when he was a child, his mother used a whip to forcibly teach him to become a music professor. Su Xian'er and Lin Jingshu had different expressions when listening to Huang Guang's remarks. Su Xian'er, who never likes to think too much, said with a dissatisfied look, in this case, if I had known I would have continued sleeping, why would I come here to take the exam? Doesn't this delay her from catching up on her sleep? Lin Jingshu didn't have too many thoughts, but was relieved. After all, she didn't have a good rest last night, and she was very nervous about this assessment. She was afraid of making mistakes, so it was best if she could skip the assessment. In the past, Lin Jingshu might have had a competitive mentality, feeling that Professor Huang admitted her for Su Xian'er's sake, which made her feel uncomfortable. But now, she became familiar with Su Xian'er, and some of her bad habits also infected her. Anyway, the main purpose is to enter the Huaxia Conservatory of Music. It doesn't matter what the process is, as long as there are results. Lin Jingshu, who has been nurtured by Su Xian'er, is very happy at this time. Of course I came out to meet you. I can't come to the Magic City and not even know what you look like. Then it won't be easy for me to explain when I go back. Huang Guang couldn't help but feel depressed when he saw that Su Xian'er's current expression was different from what he imagined. Wasn't his theory just now enough to conquer these two little girls? The other party even complained. Susienner's mouth twitched, but now that there is no need for assessment, she naturally wants to go home, then we can go back after eating. Huang Guang was dumbfounded and speechless for a while. At this time, shouldn't Susienner and Lin Jingshu be very happy and take him around the magic city? Then through this incident, Huang Guang could learn more about the two of them, and in the future, he would teach them two outstanding singing queens. That's right, this is Huang Guang's ambition. Susienner's creative talent is rare to see in a century, and her voice is even more unique and moving. Lin Jingshu has Sayori Asada's comments, which he attaches great importance to. He was very envious that his mother could teach Asada Sayori, the diva, who was very famous in the music circle. Everyone had to show respect to the other person. After all, it was Asada Sayori, the diva's teacher. From now on, relying on these two queens in front of him, even if he stays at home, some people will definitely come to his door with gifts and ask him to do things. At that time, he will only need to be mysterious. However, the scene was different from what he thought. Huang Guang seriously doubted whether his personality charm had dropped a lot. If Susienner knew that the always calm Huang Guang in front of her had so many little things in her heart, she would definitely complain about him. They had just met and he was thinking about it decades later. I'm afraid it's not a joke. Before Huang Guang spoke, Lin Jingshu whispered, "Student Su, aren't you going to discuss something with the chairman of Station B?" When Huang Guang heard this, his eyes lit up and he said softly, "Do you have anything else to do today?" "It just so happens that I don't have anything to do right now, so I can help you with some advice. Since we need to teach students in accordance with their personalities, we naturally need to get to know Susienner and Lin Jingshu well." Susienner wanted to say, "Go to hell," but considering that the professor in front of her could still handle some things for her in college in the future, such as skipping classes, getting 60 points on the final exam, etc. Thinking of this, Susienner agreed very happily. Anyway, the matter to discuss with Chen Rui was not a commercial secret, and the other party was a professor, so he would not be so ungentlemanly as to tell others about what she and Chen Rui talked about. Seeing Susienner agree, Huang Guang was so happy that he almost danced with joy, but on the surface he kept a nod and a smile, and the whole person seemed calm, very pretentious. Afterwards, Susienner and Lin Jingshu finished their breakfast and were about to hail a taxi on the street, but Huang Guang stopped them and said, "When I first arrived 2 days ago, I happened to walk around the Magic City for a few rounds, so I rented a car, so you don't have to take a taxi." Susienner would naturally not refuse a free car. 3/5.